Okay, so we're on part two with Dr. David Walls-Kaufman. David's not shy to push hands with anybody and everybody. He will enter tournaments just to have fun, just to test his skill. Um, Tell me about, when you started going to like seminars and tournaments and go ahead.
Okay. Well, we met Ben in 75 when he pulled through DC on his way to Shenzhen. And I will say that very quickly that one of my keen regrets in life is that I didn't go up with Mr. Smith and our DC contingent up to Shenzhen for the memorial service for Professor's death. I really wish I had. That was, quite a historical moment. But uh, and then there never were any Tai Chi students back in the 1970s. And then I went to chiropractic school, and I quit practicing Tai Chi when I was at chiropractic school because I was never a morning person, and that was always my best time to practice because of the intensities of academic intensities of chiropractic school. So I said, well, I'll quit, for the last 2 years that I'm in chiropractic school. It's, 4-year academic program squished into 3 years. You go to school for 11 months out of the year. So, and then I'll move out to San Francisco and become a student of Ben Lowe because I was in Washington, D.C. Smith was in Washington, D.C. because he was with the CIA. And then I went to chiropractic school in Davenport, Iowa. So when I got out of chiropractic school, I wanted to lobby for chiropractic because of the difference maker it can be in rationalizing healthcare. Um, we spend $4 trillion a year on medical care now, and chiropractic and brain first healthcare, treating the body like a musical instrument that needs to be tuned, can take care of so many things that it would really diffuse a lot of the argument between right and left. So I came back to DC, and my hiatus from Tai Chi practice lasted for 10 years. And then I got back into it, and as soon as I got back into it, there was the first tournament out in the Shenandoah Valley. What was it called? Taste of China?
The Taste of China. Uh-huh. All
Yes,
Tai Chi Chuan championships.
yes.
Hmm.
So I'd always been a good athlete, and Mr. Smith said, Dave, I think you could win the thing. So I went out there, and it was a real battle, standing wrestling.
Hmm.
That's okay. It is what it is. Um, and uh, I didn't win. And But 3 years later, they started Guoshu in
Hmm.
Baltimore,
Right.
and so I went for that, and I think I won like 3 years in a row. Um, and they're very scrappy, and it's a Tai Chi experience.
Hmm.
It's not for beginners.
Right.
Um, but
I
I
mean, you
think that
learn a lot from it,
oh
even
yeah,
though, some people are like, oh, they're violating the principles or using force. But for me, it's like your Tai Chi should be able to handle that force. You
yes,
should be able to handle a boxer or a wrestler or a
yes.
jiu-jitsu guy if you are true to the art.
Yes.
Hmm.
Your relaxation is always going to help you because it's going to coordinate the body and the brain much more efficiently. So that is
Hmm.
always going to be in your best interest.
Hmm.
But your internal ability, your chi is so thin in, beginner and even at intermediate level. Now it's becoming something that you can work with, but you're going to get your ass kicked. But um, my advice to anyone, if I had it to do all over again, I would have trained collaterally in martial arts all the way, through Tai Chi. because my experience was that people who couldn't push me, they'd wait till my back was turned, and then they'd attack me, like a headbutt or attempt to throw me, or a dick move, shoulder attack.
Hmm.
And I've sustained a lot of injuries on my shoulder because of that. And I wish I had known just general martial arts stuff along the way.
Hmm.
If your interest in Tai Chi is at all in martial arts, I would make sure that you have an experience with that. Because I boxed when I was a kid a little bit, but boxing does not prepare you for where the leading edge of martial arts is these days. And until your internal ability kicks in, your inexperience makes you vulnerable, and you better be careful.
Hmm. Now tell me
So
about
yeah,
Paris.
yeah. So the tournament in the south of France.
Hmm.
Well, the first one was in 2000 in Taiwan, the
Okay.
Manching Bay. And
Okay.
so Ben and all of his students, we all went out for that.
Hmm.
The honoring of Professor Zheng, he was born in 1900. That was a terrific experience. Unfortunately, a few weeks before, I had been pushing with this big, huge, huge guy, and I had been roll backing and sending him out to the side, and my biceps gave.
Hmm.
And then so 2 or 3 weeks later, I was in Taiwan, and so I had this hole in my bicep. And 2 weeks later, I was pushing with this leading guy in Taiwan, and he couldn't push me. And I thought he was kind of, like we were going to, give up and shake hands and clap each other on the back. And no, he tries to break my right arm. And so that tore my right bicep.
Oh gosh.
So in 3 weeks, I had these two torn biceps, and I'm in the middle of this the Manjing Bay in
Hmm.
2000.
Hmm.
So I said to Ben, I said, Ben, what do I do? And he said, use your Chinese and tell them you have a cold in your arm. Well, go be yo gan mao. Well, go be yo gan mao, and they'll know what you're talking about. So all I did was the form. I did a little bit of the first day of the push hands, and I still got I think I got third place in my the what was it, seventh weight class. Yeah. So yeah, that was about that.
Okay.
I think that I worry that the tournaments are becoming political. I was in one, I think, like 4 or 5 years ago, and in this round, the guy couldn't push me. He couldn't move me at all,
Hmm.
and I lost the tournament. So and then after that, we were walking out, and a group of us were walking around, and somebody from the Bethesda area, they said, I don't know how you lost that tournament. You know, I I videotaped that the guy couldn't move you, and we were walking down the hall, and one of the judges turned to me and he said, "How do you do that, where you make it so he can't push you?" And I said, "Wait a minute, you know, you just voted against me. I don't think I got a single point." And you're asking me now, how do I do it so the guy can't push me? So I don't know if I'll do any more tournaments. I have to be convinced that they're not sort of the inbreeding and helping one another, school helping school,
Hmm.
isn't going on. Mario Napoli said one time, I never want to see money come into Tai Chi tournaments because it's going to become totally corrupt. And and I told him, I said, yeah, you're right, that would be the case, but I'm not sure that the inbreeding of schools and not wanting to see your good friends lose and their students lose, then that too becomes a temptation to get away from what's actually happening.
Um, there was a time you invited me to one of the museums downtown. I guess you were doing a seminar or there was a school graduation or something. It was like a big party in one
The
of the
Sackler Gallery.
was it Sackler Gallery? Okay, so Sackler
Sackler,
Gallery, you're doing a seminar. You have a bunch of college age kids there, and you're talking and talking. I guess we had him standing in Wuji posture at least while you're talking. And then you find the biggest guy in the crowd. He looked like a football player for
he was
Howard
huge.
University or something.
Well, you'll
And you
remember
said, push me.
I think I picked out four people, and for
Uh-huh.
dramatic impact, I went from smallest person to next biggest to the biggest dude in the room who
Yeah.
I asked him, I said, what do you weigh? And he said, I think he said either 360 or 420. I can't remember, but he was
Uh-huh.
a big dude.
Yeah, he was a big guy. And you neutralized him. He couldn't move you.
Yeah,
It
I
was
said,
impressive. I wish I had a picture.
you
I
push
did.
on me, I push on you. And then we
Uh-huh.
started settling into it, and I turned to the crowd and I said, look, this is a big guy. I don't know if I can hold him off, but I'll
Mhm.
try. Yes, and I
And you
did.
did.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
you did.
did. Yeah.
Here's a good question, I know you've answered it to me before, but I want the audience to hear. So, as a chiropractor, we have and in our Tai Chi, we have two different principles when it comes to the back. In the Tai Chi, they kind of want you to kind of stretch the Wei Lu point, kind of at the
Yes.
tailbone, and your
Yes.
back's sort of straight. But
Yes.
we all know as chiropractors, the power is in the curve of the spine and the neck and in
Yes.
the lumbars and everything.
Yes.
How do you balance those two Eastern and Western things as a practitioner?
Yeah, you can't. This is the only place I have I divert from the classical cultural paradigm that Taiji teaches
Hmm.
of straightening out the low back.
Hmm.
I've never, consciously straightened my low back for anything. I don't know. Maybe I'll try it and see if there's an extra level that is
Hmm.
achieved by flattening out the low back curve.
Hmm.
But the human spine has been modeled by Don Harrison and his team and published in Spine Journal. And he mapped out the human spine in his cervical model, his low back model, and his mid back model in 96, 98, and 2002. Because if you look at the AMA guides to permanent impairment and Gray's Anatomy, and all of the anatomy books for 100 years, longer, it's been mapped out with anatomical normals of how bones should be shaped and their proportions and there's some individual
Hmm.
uh, but there's normal modeling for it all. The big hole of the unknown was always the spine.
Hmm.
Sorry, hang on. Um, and oh, And Harrison solved that problem. And it goes along with biomedical engineering and
Hmm.
anatomical engineering and engineering. And a curve is stronger than a straight edge. And so the spine is supposed to be a straight line up and down from the top of the head, to what is it, the Ming Mun, is it? No. What is it?
Yeah, the
Anyway.
Mingmen is like at between L2 and L3.
No, yeah. So I mean
So the Wei Lu is at the tip of the tailbone, kind of like the coccyx.
Yes. So that Wei-Lu point and through the pelvis, through the knee, and down to the ankle, that's supposed to be a straight line.
Mm,
But the spine will take three major curves like a compound bow. So when you look at the spine straight on, it
mm,
needs to be absolutely straight. But if
mm,
you turn it into profile, there should be a neck curve, a mid back curve, and a low back curve. And that's like a compound bow. And all of those curves are inordinately strong.
mm,
And so, uh, the classic model of spinal degeneration and vulnerability is where we start going into head forward posture, you know, and start
mm.
instead of being straight, we start,
Yeah,
humping over like this.
it's going to be an
So
epidemic.
yes. So what the spine becomes, and it's not just from, phone neck, but it's also the fact that the eyes are above the hands.
Hmm.
And so everybody, Ben Franklin, was terribly humped over, right?
Hmm.
So the spine starts losing its linearity and it starts going from the compound three curves down to one big curve. And
Mm,
that one big curve is nowhere near as strong. It is far more vulnerable than the compound curves. So being suspended by a string is absolutely right, but all spinal modeling shows that if you're too curved, it's a problem, but that almost never happens in the neck. It can happen in the mid back and it can happen in the low back. But the flattening of the spine is, I believe, 70% of low back syndromes and arthritis are started by losing that shock absorption, losing that integral dynamism,
mm.
and losing the curves in the neck and in the low back. And when that happens, we've known since 1920 an article by Windsor in the Medical Times, which was the most prestigious medical journal of the day, and he pointed out how aging of the spine starts 2 to 3 times faster as you lose that structural true.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, let's circle back onto another Tai Chi topic is standing. Sanzuan, pose standing, Wuji standing, holding the basket, holding the tree, embracing the tree, holding the one, whatever.
Yeah.
Your was very strong on it, and it may have even turned away newcomers. Like in the beginning of the season, on it almost was like a way of filtering people out because you would have people do. We would do. You said 20 cycles of breathing, so one inhale, one exhales, one cycle. So we do 20 cycles Wuji, 20 cycles Hung ward off left, 20 cycles ward off right, 20 cycles Heepaw, and 26 cycles lift the hands. And if they
Oh,
can,
well,
yeah.
is that practice called Ding Shi? I'm not sure. Where, one
Sometimes they
foot.
call it ding so. Well, that's more like when you're doing the form and you're holding a
Oh,
posture.
oh, okay. All right. Yes.
But that's what we were doing. We were holding
Yes.
postures, holding
Yes,
it and holding
exactly.
it.
Yes.
Um,
Well, that was Ben Lowe's big thing. You'd go
yeah.
to a Ben Lowe camp and you'd go to a class, an informed class. He was
Hmm.
doing that Ding Shi practice. And what I would do is in his class, you did until he said, okay, the next one. In my class and in my own practice, I would do it for 5 breaths. And then I would
Uh,
move to the next posture and then the next posture and do it that way.
mhm.
So, yes,
Yeah, I
yeah.
remember you saying like, okay, which is better, sitting or standing? And you said the standing was more martial.
So, what you want to do is you're doing a meditation practice. You're trying
Hmm.
to calm down your brain, your central nervous system. You're trying to slow everything down. And we can get into this another time or this time if you want. But
Hmm.
in any event, So it's easy to do to relax and do it lying down.
Hmm.
And if you sit up, it's easier. It's less easy to relax than when you're lying down. But
Right.
you're not going to get much out of it.
Hmm.
When you stand up and you're doing your meditation and you're trying to relax, that's harder than the first two, and you're going to get a lot more out of it. And then when you do a posture and you hold a posture and now your legs are burning, you're going to get more out of it by challenging yourself and still trying to, get down to that quietude. And when
Hmm.
you're doing the Dingsa practice and lifting your legs up and going from posture to posture, that's hard. That's harder too. And then the last one, of course, is, oh my God, somebody's coming into my space and trying to make me lose my balance in my feet. And I'm still trying to remain meditative and calm and quiet. That's the hardest one of all. And so if you avoid that practice, you're making a huge mistake. You may not want it martial, et cetera, et cetera. You may not be comfortable with that. You may have age limitations and personality limitations. I absolutely understand that. But still, you should practice with like-minded people, right? Avoid the bullies, avoid the
Hmm.
people who are going to try and hurt you.
Hmm.
But cannot you cannot seriously pursue Tai Chi and um, avoid push hands because you have a pacifist um, ideal.
Right. What's your biggest takeaway with training with Ben Lowe?
Um, Ben would quote himself. He would say, somebody asks me a question, and they say, Ben, which way should we do it? This way A, way C, way A, way B, way C, way D. Which way? And Ben would
Hmm.
say, which way is the hardest? He said, that's always the right way. So, he may have coined the term no pain, no gain. Um, we know that he coined the term no burn, no earn.
Hmm.
But so yeah, I mean that's the hallmark of his teaching.
Mm. Yeah, he had a lot of little quotes and little things that he said that were they always stuck around.
He was so exacting in his conveyance of the form, and one time we were talking about Ben and Tai Chi, and I said, I'm so grateful for Ben because if Ben lived for 1,000 years and taught the form, the way he would teach it the way he was taught it by a professor, and it would not lose a millimeter over those 1,000 years.
Hmm. Um, so you're pretty big with going to the Tai Chi parks. Julian Chu had his Sunday at Carter Rock, and then eventually, after David Chin passed away, then they built the David Chin Memorial Park over in Cabin John. And you've been very active in the community and teaching over there. Now, Julian Chu moved like last year or a year ago, 2 years ago maybe, like to North
Yeah.
Carolina. You took over his classes?
No, 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 no. People have asked me that. They said, "Hey, I hear that you took over for Julian," and no, 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 no. Julian worked really, really hard as a teacher. My hat is off to him. No, he's my
Uh-huh.
older brother.
Uh-huh.
So, we're both senior students of Ben Lo. He's my older brother,
I see.
and in the Chinese tradition, you have to listen to your older brother.
Right.
Uh, Julian is chi skeptical, and I'm chi promotional. So we have this, but as he gets older, he's coming more to my side. He
Okay.
gets into these semantical things, and I'm nodding. But
Uh-huh.
I must say that I was so lucky. Well, I was lucky to have, Ben Lowe and Robert Smith as
Uh-huh.
teachers, but I was also lucky to have an older brother who was as terrific as Julian Chu.
Hmm.
He worked very, very hard conveying Tai Chi.
Hmm.
I reluctantly teach Tai Chi. I've got to get over that. I've got to help convey. But he had these classes at the Chinese Cultural Association in Northern Virginia and Maryland,
Hmm.
and he gave those classes over to his senior students. One of them was David Carlson, and I can't remember who the other one was. Maybe Tom Ye. I don't want to insult anybody, but I remember that David Carlson was one of them, and their
Hmm.
teaching.
Hmm.
And Julian asked me if I would take the Sunday morning summer classes. And I said I would, and I think I did it for a few weeks last year, but Joanne's newsletter said that Julian students were taking it over. They didn't mention me,
Oh,
and I'm
okay.
not a Julian student. And I kind of found that the class order was kind of falling apart, and not many people were coming.
Hmm.
So if people weren't that interested, I wasn't going
Hmm.
to drive all the way. I'll
So
stop
people should
in.
know about how complete he was about his teaching class because he had a warm up, he did some standing at the end of the
Yes,
warm up. They
yes,
did the form maybe two times, I think,
yes,
and then short weapon like a straight sword, saber, and then the long weapon, and then a good another hour of push hands. So
yes.
it was a very complete form. Of course, his
And the other
sword
thing that was
and
great, the
yeah,
other thing that was great was it was very much like Ben's class or a professor's class, in that the people lined up in two rows, and then they
right,
they advanced down the row so that everybody pushed with everybody.
right.
Um,
I do have a picture of
uh,
that.
yeah, and Professor Jung and Ben would never, never stand for seniors not pushing with other seniors,
Hmm.
for whatever reasons they can rationalize on their own not to do
Hmm.
that.
Hmm.
You would never do that. I mean, are you kidding me?
Hmm.
You're you're really doing that? You think you've got a Tai Chi school and that's how you're doing it? So yeah. So yeah, that would never stand with Ben or even Smith and Professor Jung. And so that was the good thing to have everybody push with everybody and go down the line because Professor was right in saying you've got to push with everyone to expand your own understanding.
Any
And
final words?
what I think it was Joe Sung Hua. I
Uh-huh.
heard, if he got in front of someone, because this was when I heard this, I said, "Oh, this is very good." And if he didn't know someone and they wanted to do push hands, and he would say, "Civil or martial?" Because if you don't have to push with somebody who's going to try and tie you up and throw you around. You don't have to do that. That's not necessary.
Hmm.
um until you get to a very high level, and and you find that practice, that kind of challenge, beneficial. So I can't remember where I was going with that, but
Oh, just civil marshal. So any final words? We're coming up towards the end here. Um, any final words you want to tell the Taiji community, Chin Manching followers, or just the martial art community in general?
yeah. Well, I was accused of attacking a police officer on January 6th, and the video shows that that's absolute total bullshit.
Hmm. Oh,
And
just
I
for in context, people need to know that your chiropractic clinic is right behind the Capitol building,
four
and
blocks
you know
away.
everything that goes on there. So with you being like, what the hell is going on at January 6th and going over there, um,
Yeah.
people need to know like that's right where your office was at.
Yes, and I'm a tremendous student of philosophy and history and political conflict today, which I think, holistics would solve so much of the left-right problem.
Hmm.
And I went to six George Floyd protests because this is history. The conflict between left and right that's going on now. First of
Hmm.
all, I think it's totally misguided. And holistics would solve it because one side wants better social welfare and
Hmm.
the other side wants low taxes. Our high taxes are for social welfare, which is largely ineffective because it's medical
Hmm.
rather than holistic. And yeah, so I'm 4 blocks from the Capitol. I've gone to virtually every major political rally in the area. And so, of course, I went down, like my lawyer said, "Why'd you go down there on January 6th?" And I said, "History. Are you kidding?" And yeah, so I would like the martial arts community that might disdain me, and I want to say a thank you to the Chinese community because only one person in the Chinese community do I know that's taken this seriously. All the other people in the Chinese community, I'm grateful to say, they seem to have an instinct from the mainland where they know that this kind of nonsense is
Hmm.
par for the political course.
Hmm.
But I am suing for libel the Washington Post, the New York Times, the HuffPost, the guy who has been the writer who did this and who has I mean, I think I'm a fascinating story. Journalists should be interested in a fascinating story.
I know you're a Tai
And
Chi
my
guy. You're harmless.
circumstances, yeah, and they're not interested in that at all. They're interested in sort of putting you in a box as a political excitement bauble,
Hmm.
and they string these baubles together to make human beings do the one thing that they should never do, which is to allow their emotions to be manipulated so that they do something unwise. And people in the Tai Chi community should have a very good sense of that kind of open-mindedness and removal from emotion. And so, those who have
Hmm.
shown that, my hat is off to you. Those who don't get it,
Hmm.
practice your Tai Chi and think
And
about
I
your
want
Tai
to
Chi a little bit
say
more
one last
deeply.
thing. Sorry for interrupting you. I want to say one last thing
Sure.
because I've had a dozen chiropractors throughout my life. You're definitely top two, probably number
Thank you,
one
Matt.
in the fact that you actually do Tai Chi. But but the fact that your clinic is now closed, I can't go there to get an adjustment. I mean, you're like one of the best in the areas. I just told you the other day, it's like your other chiropractors are not at David Walls Kaufman because
Thank you,
of
Matt.
all your studies that you've done and you've gone very deep. So, it's
Well, the threats on
I'm
my
sad to
life.
see that it came to that you got doxxed and all this other stuff, and it's a shame because if people really knew who you were, chiropractor, holistic health. You help every person, race, color, creed. It doesn't matter where they are. You want to help them. You want them to have better quality of life and good back and good spine and the holism is there. We don't discriminate if you're in the medical community. We don't discriminate whether you're conservative or re, Republican or Democrat or liberal or whatever. We're
Or
there to help
independent.
you feel better and have a better quality of life, period.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I never thought I would close that practice. I know two practitioners, no, I know more than that, who practiced until the day they died. One of them, Tom Bartlett, actually was working on a patient and slumped onto the table and died
Oh,
in his 90s. And
wow.
I never thought I'd leave practice. I never thought I'd leave that building on Capitol Hill. I mean,
Hmm.
if you're 4 blocks from the Capitol, arguably you have the most prestigious chiropractic practice in the world.
Hmm.
And I never wanted to leave that behind. But the death threats and the threats of, well, we're going to come in and we're going to make a malpractice claim against you, or we're going to make a sexual misconduct claim against you.
Hmm.
Um, I wouldn't be, how would I stand that? I wouldn't be able to withstand it. What if I fought one off for $75,000 in legal fees and then the next week a new person came in and did it again? I mean,
Oh,
this is where we are now, and I'll go somewhere else and start practicing again for sure.
okay. All right, so let's conclude this. Thank you, David, so much for doing this interview. I'm sure the community will benefit from this. Thank you
Thanks,
very
Matt.
much.
It's been fun. We should talk some more. There's still a lot of great stories.
Okay, we'll do.
All right.